Okay, this is Barbara back again with another training module for my Son-Rise program. I have a new person here on his first session, and I was just talking about the Son-Rise Developmental Model, and I thought, oh, this is perfect. We should just do this and record it so we don't have to do it over and over again. And let's just talk about how useful this document is and how we're going to use it and everything. So I've been using the second edition. There's actually a third edition. The best thing about the third edition is that instead of breaking up every goal you do with the child into selecting a goal, emerging, and accepted, it's selecting the goal. The emerging is like in 4 steps, and then there's like done when you check it off at the end. But because we started with this one, we're just going to focus on this one, and you'll still be able to develop your child like all the way through. People have recovered their children without having one of these. This is somewhat recent, so it's okay if we use the second one. It's not going to be a problem. But anyway, that's for the main advantage of switching. But since we started our program with the second one, we'll just stay with it for now. All right, so what I was teaching our new person was that this document, the developmental model, helps set the tone for the whole program so people don't get confused what we're trying to do here. So we're not here to actually get a lot of information into my child, whatever. It's a great thing, and anyone who's in my program will see that I'm completely, I don't want to say like all over teaching her things like all the time. Whenever I'm like, oh, this is a new word, and I just jump into it, or oh, this is so cool, we could learn how to program this iPhone. Look, let's do settings, and everyone can see that I'm all over that. But that is not the core. The core is actually social skill and social ease and enjoying social stuff. And I'm saying this as a formerly autistic person. I was uncomfortable with everything social, and now I'm really comfortable with, I would say, everything social, and it's fun. And so it's such a different world. I want my daughter to have that option. She's welcome to decide she doesn't want to be social at any time, any day, with any certain person, but I don't want her to feel like she's uncomfortable with everybody all the time. That's not like conducive to anything good. And you feel like you're limited in everything that you touch, whether you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a researcher, a painter, a person working with pets. There's always people involved. So if you're not going to be comfortable with people, you're going to be uncomfortable all the time. And guess what? I was. Everyone who's autistic is all the time. That's why we consider them to be autistic, but they have to withdraw a lot. And I did too. I just was higher functioning. So getting back to this developmental model, the page I like the best to start with is this actually shows, and it's backward for the viewers at home. I'm sorry. I'm actually going to get good at copying things and reversing them, which I can do in Adobe Illustrator. I will do it. But for the time being, I have to read it to you because it's backward. But our goals in the middle here are the social goals. And the number one is eye contact and everything that comes from that. So we want to always be celebrating and encouraging eye contact, but more from the standpoint of celebrating what we get rather than trying to order kids to look at you all the time, which is what another famous program does. And it's like kids will do that. They don't enjoy it. We're trying to teach the love and enjoyment of all of these things. So we cheer, we make it fun when they do, and they pretty soon get the idea it's really fun to do that thing because they get the cheer and they like their parent doing that and the assistance and all that. Anyway, so then number 2 is communication. So we want our kids to, besides looking at us, also communicate and be able to answer questions and be able to ask for things when they have a problem and to feel like they can have fun with people and go to a movie. And that actually is mostly focused on language. And that's like we would want a child to feel comfortable with all the bits and pieces of language. And because they're so socially averse in most cases, in my daughter's case, let's say, they're not using language normally, and they never really practice their way out of it unless they have to practice their way out of it. It's a long road. The third thing is interactive attention span. And I just consider that the person is staying with you for longer and longer periods instead of breaking into their own world. And I would put under there all the other interactions, like the child, coming to see what you're working on, or helping you, like you're trying to pick something up, and then they reach down and pick it up. And you're like, oh my gosh, thank you for helping me. Or they're just like, and you go, oh my gosh, thanks for showing me that. Like they didn't have to talk. They don't have to look at you. They just showed you something. So I would put any other interaction in that category, like anything to keep the interaction going. I bounce you a ball, you bounce me a ball, and we're cheering that I'm bouncing you a ball and you're throwing it back. That's kind of in that category. They're keeping going. The fourth thing is flexibility. So if you ask somebody to come sit with you, they'll sit with you, and if they sit with you, you're like, oh, that's really great. So we're focusing on those 4 things. That's the core of the Son-Rise program. If you can do those things and feel really comfortable, you just are not autistic anymore, and that's the reality. You're not, and these other things are along the way, like gross motor skills, like down here, I mean, figuring out how to like run, or fine motor skills, how to hold a scissor and cut, self-help, like how to button the shirt, and cognitive, and also like answer a phone or something. Cognitive, like being able to do math or something on demand, or that kind of thing, or know American history. Those are all things that are fun, and they spice things up, and they give us activities to do. And our daughter learned how to read in the playroom and rearrange like letter blocks and stuff like that. But they're not the core. Okay, so just briefly, so you know how to read this, because I'm going to ask everyone in our program, you're going to be getting copies of this on your email. And you don't have to focus that much on it right now. It's really to give you a sense of what we're focusing on, so you don't like not understand what we're doing. Most importantly, later on, when you develop further in our program, you'll be working directly on developmental steps with my daughter, where we break down specifics for you to work on. And that's pretty far up the training curve. I'll show you really briefly. I normally start people celebrating the things we just talked about, helping you out, looking at you, talking to you, asking you a question. Those are the pillars, the big 4 pillars. I usually just celebrate all those things down here where we start. So we start here where we focus on playroom essential, outside the playroom essentials, like being professional, and also in reading and understanding the developmental model. We're going to put that down here. This is going to broaden out a little bit. The attitude, which is, we want that to be in place. We want you to join. We want you to add or celebrate interactive gestures of any kind, the help, the talking, the looks. We want you to add variety, but like you'd have to be pretty far along to start saying, like, I'm waiting for you to say this thing. Like it's hard enough for people like who are developed enough to figure out how to set up a situation for whatever the goal is our child's working on. Which right now, for example, my daughter's working on context. So she'll tell you something, but she won't tell you the when exactly and the where or the who. She'll say people did this, and she won't say which people. So you don't understand what she's saying a lot of the time. But I'm working on those and hitting those over and over and over and over, like 20 times an hour, 3 times an hour. But you guys are working on just being happy all the time, joining when the child isms, even noticing when they ism, celebrating when they interact, and doing that pretty often, and there's all these things you're going to learn down here. And then we get up here, and you're going to be hitting this developmental model really. We're going to be like working. These are the goals. But it's sort of like our stage 2. You have to graduate from this down here. And so we're going to be teaching you about it here, but you're not going to have to go down and work specifically on a certain one of those day after day, session after session. Okay, so just briefly, there's an overview in here. It makes more sense if you think about it as a puff out of this page. If you think about these big 4 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, I actually drew lines. See that? And so it's divided into 5 pieces. Look, it says stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all backwards. But anyway, it's basically your like a visual, what they did when they give you this overview. So here they have eye contact, and they give you an overview. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's all right here on this page, and it really parallels the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of eye contact here. Similarly, you're going to go to this one, which is very big, because language is a huge, sort of a complex area. There's a lot of pieces to it. This all represents what's in the second arrow in sort of a brief overview about communication. And then you go to the second page, and it's got interactive attention span and then flexibility. So it's like all 4 pillars, but it's kind of like a quick overview. And I actually thought it'd be kind of useful to, sorry about that, bumping the camera. Okay, so I thought it'd be kind of useful to hold it up, and we're just going to skip right. This is just for you to get a sense of how the whole thing works. I thought it would be useful to hold these 2 copies up so you could see one's a sort of an older, one's a newer copy. But the way you would read this in a way is like this. So this is the overview for all 4 stages visually. So here's here's the eye contact, the pillar 1, and it's the most important thing, because if people don't look at their audience, I can't see you, so I hope you're still paying attention to all that. But people don't look at their audience. They don't know what's going on. They don't know if the person's being friendly or not. They can't read any cues. So that's the most important one in a way, and this is the second. But anyway, so it's eye contact, communication, interactive attention span, and flexibility. Those are the 4 pillars, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if you go to the next part of the model, it starts splitting into each of these stages. So if you look at this first, again, I keep going back to the first overview page. Stage 1 is really like this piece. Like if you cut this beginning part out and had all 4 stages, 1, 2, 3, 4 on one page, and you just put a little more specificity with each one. So it's like, and these are things that you'll actually be working on, other kids will be working on. Amazingly, my daughter started in stage 1, and she is now in stage 4. So no one coming in our program is going to be working on this, but I want you reading it anyway, so you see where she came from and what we've been working on is like, you can see how it's similar in a way to how they break things out into small pieces, and they're all doable, and you focus one at a time. But basically, like here, for example, it says make eye contact 1 time every 2 minutes, and then if you go to like the next, see, you kind of like work on all these because kids tend to, on average, be in the same zone with all 4 of them. But there are kids who are more uneven. My daughter was like kind of sort of all on the same page. And then you just flip the page. Oh, okay, she got all those done. Now we're in stage 2. So for example, that eye contact goal in stage 2, there's a couple others in stage 1, like looking a little longer, like twice a minute, more frequently. And stage 2, it makes eye contact 2 to 3 times per minute or more, for example, and then these all get more complex. For example, speaks in 2 to 3 word sentences, and you kind of pick these goals off and you kind of go through them. There's actually a perspectives to teach, and that's kind of like a beliefs section down here, like that things tend to show up at around the same time. So this isn't perfect, but often you'll find like that belief is a useful belief at that stage. And similarly, a lot of these will show up, is my experience with my daughter, that things tend to show up in roughly the same order and timing as this document. So it's actually really, empirical, or it came from reality. It's reality based, not like theoretical that much. And so here's stage 3 and stage 4. So if you were in my program, which you are, this person is. But anyway, so what we do is we have you, of course, you're going to read through all these other ones and read through stage 5, by the way. Don't stop at 4. I would do an overview, go all the way through stage 5, which if you finish all these stage 5 goals, your child is really, like our child or any child would be really, recovered. Like you would have a hard time, or you couldn't tell they had autism. They ever had autism, which is the great thing about Son-Rise. Like when it's gone, it's really gone. And it doesn't look like hackneyed, and you have to give them jelly beans to do it. You have to like pay them off for looks. It's like they actually like the looks and everything. So what we're going to have you do, so for example, I just want you to read over it so you know what we're trying to focus on. And again, like in our case, right now, it's in 2015. It's like November 2015. We would focus on stage 4. So we would come back again. I would read through the whole thing, have you go back to stage 4, just hit a B line, just go right through stage 4 in depth, and you'll see where she's on there. You'll see how she's working on context in a story, and you'll see that if I flip back there, we have a holdover from the last stage, which is working with multiple people, working with 2 or more adults in the playroom, and that's somewhat challenging still. So we have occasionally there'll be something left over from a prior stage. We have one other small one from stage 3, which is when you're done with an activity, like telling the other person, let's change or stop an activity. You'll actually see that in stage 3, appropriately signals when to change or stop an activity. I don't think that's almost verbatim. So for example, my daughter, not that she walks off to ism, which she totally might do that, but you might be in the middle of something and she'll just like drop it and start talking about something else. So she's still interactive. And for example, that's one that we would say like, oh, I'm confused. Like, I don't understand. Are we done with the Monopoly? Are we going to like come back? And she might say, oh, let's come back. Or you might say, I understand. Are we done? Are we going to put this away? And she might not answer. You could say like, if you think we're done for now, you could just say we're done. Or you could say, let's put it away. And you can prompt a little bit, but like, we'll come back to these later. The important thing is that you also be aware if you look in stage 4 and stage 5 for where she hasn't gotten yet, and I'll show you where she is or isn't, then you'll totally see when she does something really amazing. You'll be like, oh my gosh, that's a stage 5 goal, because you'll know what's coming. Right. So like we've had a couple she did that were she's already gone on, she's already accomplished like I think 2 or 3 stage 5 goals without us working on them. One other great thing about these goals, by the way, is the ones that you don't feel comfortable doing, you can have another person on the team that really loves them. So I remember I didn't like doing imaginary games. And there are people imagining I'm like this and imagining I'm that. And I just didn't dig it. And other people loved it and they did it. So they did their part that they really focused on. And I did the other parts I really loved. And then the great thing is a lot of these just happen without you trying. Because Son-Rise like wakes up parts of your brain and your child starts to develop, or the child's brain and yours. The child just starts developing like a normal child. Wait, hold for a second. We're recording.
I still want to have this finished. It's getting too late.
Okay, hold for just a second. Thank you for telling me.
I may not be able to have any.
But we're almost done. So we'll just pause for just a second and we're almost done.
Have the dessert for dinner? After dinner?
You can after dinner. That's true.
I can't have any chocolate ice cream. It's too late.
Well, for chocolate ice cream, it's up to you to decide that. Can you hold for just a second, Anna? We're talking, cutie. Okay, so that's pretty much it. The thing, I don't know if we just went back and finished this up, is that if you know what's coming in stage 5, like for example, if she says something like one of these is initiates conversation appropriate to the social context. So she's standing there with a new person like you, and she says, "Oh hi," I won't say your name. "Oh hi, person," like "Hi, blank." This is my Son-Rise program. Like, are you a new person here? Like, that would be, if she did that, we'd be like, oh, yeah. Stage 5. But you wouldn't, if you didn't read this, you wouldn't know that was really new. You should know that that's a big deal. Another great one she's been doing is where she just, it's something about listens in, able to follow and add to a conversation between 2 other people. She's done this a few times. Where, like, let's say you and I are having a conversation about, I don't know, the buses in Milwaukee. And she might say, I'd like to ride a bus, or I've ridden the bus, or I didn't know the buses had that problem. And we'd be like, oh, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, yay! And you celebrate. It's a big deal. And that's how you get those things to hopefully concretize in her brain versus you're just like, don't interrupt me. We're talking about buses. So you want to embrace that. Okay, so that's it. It's about 15 minutes. Thank you for coming. Good luck reading that. See you guys later.